Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
A very good morning to you. You're joining us on Newsline this morning. I have to apologize for starting a few minutes late. Usually we have a situation where the guest comes late, but today I am the culprit and I got late to come. A lot of development activities happening in Colombo with the election just around the corner. This morning we are going to talk about the local government polls, and without delay I am going to introduce our guest to you, Mr. Gunasekara, former parliamentarian, contesting this time around for the Dehiwala Mount Laviniya Municipal Council. Good morning to you, Mr. Gunasekara.
Good morning.
At the very outset, let me ask you, you are contesting this time around. You have seen the political situation in this country. You were in the parliament, a very experienced politician. From what we were and from where we are now, are we heading in the right direction? That's the first question.
Well, as far as the local authority elections are concerned, yes, I think so, because the change in the system has created a scenario for a peaceful election. If you, I'm sure you would notice that there is no intra-party fighting, inter-party fighting, none of those things are taking place as a result of the new process. And as a result, people are concentrating on their own little ward and trying to see whether they can win up the votes of the residents.
When it comes to this list of candidates who will be appointed after the election or when the votes are cast, do you think or do you not think in this case that there will be a problem there, because certain areas seem to be having a lot of people in the list, and certain areas they also consider about the female representation as per the new amendments. With this, do you not see a problematic situation, or do you think everything will be after? I'm talking about the situation after the election.
No, I don't think so, because you must understand that we have gone through this process of preference votes for a long period of time, and as a result politicians got used to that system.
Yes.
And they were not concentrating on a small award as such.
Yeah.
Now you ask them to change immediately. There may be certain people who are reluctant to do that change or shift in the shorter run. Now those people may be experienced local government members, and I'm sure they must be brought in back again through the list. So it is in that context that some of them are not contesting. You can't blame them as such, because they were used to a particular procedure and the procedure has changed.
We also speak, usually when there is an election, people speak about the monetary aspect, the expenditure with regard to the election. From the looks of it, there seems to be
nothing.
There is nothing, or there is a reduction.
There's hardly.
But is that the case? We have seen the cafe coming here and speaking, Patrol coming here and speaking. They've said that there have been certain election violence activities happening, not to the extent of the former government, but there are cement bags being distributed, rice being distributed.
Those things must be stopped.
Those things must be stopped.
And I think if anybody is involved in it, if government officers are involved in it, they must be taken to task. If those things are stopped, and I feel that any member, any person willing to contest elections has to spend a very small amount of money printing a leaflet. That's all. No cutouts, no posters, nothing. Of course, some of them have still resorted to do, but then that is at a very low level.
Mr. Gunasekara, now getting to this topic in deep, do you think that when you take a look at the parties that are concerned, the main political parties, do you think that the party as a whole has understood this election system properly?
Well, it's a shift. It's not that easy to do a shift immediately, and the party also will not may make certain mistakes. But hindsight, I feel it's a good process, and the parties themselves need to adjust accordingly.
Even though this is a local government election, the people of the country, the media, and even the mainstream political parties view this as almost as a referendum between three leaders of our country, as they say: the president, the prime minister, and the former president. Are you of the same view, or is your view a bit different?
No. Local authority has nothing to do with central government or provincial government.
It's merely a local government.
It's a local government affair. And now when we went canvassing, most of the people were of the view that we must elect good people to the local authority. We are not interested in any national issues. Of course, certain people are trying their level best to portray this as a national issue and therefore cast your vote accordingly. But I don't think those things will be taken into consideration when people go and cast their vote.
So taking the other side of it, so what you're basically saying is if this local government has this drastic change, that will not affect any major central government issue, or you're basically, let me be more specific, certain scams of the current government, will that have a bearing on the elections?
No, it's something like this. Let me put it this way. It could have, but it's not in a large scale. But certainly, now I have been campaigning since 1978. I've been in the field for such a long period of time. I never saw a situation of this nature where people are willing to change their party and cast their vote this time for different reasons. It could be that the SLP is willing to vote for the UNP, and the UNP vice versa is willing to vote for the SLP, which hitherto did not take place. I mean, the strong SLPers would never ever cast their vote against or for the UNP, because they say, okay, maximum I would do is to destroy the ballot paper, that's all. But I would never resort to vote. But then that has changed.
Why do you think so?
There could be various reasons. Number one, at the center, two major parties are running the government, and as a result, they don't feel bad about shifting, because they say, okay, the UNP and the SLP are both together at the top. So it doesn't mean that we should still retain the UNP identity or the SLP identity. We can change or shift.
Now, when you take a look at the situation with regard to the former president's party, certain election nominations lists were rejected. They are in the village, they are doing their canvassing activities. How do you see this, whether they will also have a stake in the local government authorities? Or
well, the question is, I don't think that of course at the beginning, before the elections, they anticipated a mighty shift, but I don't think that shift will take place at all. Because if you take the local authorities in the city, it's only a margin, very, very, very small margin of votes that they will carry. What
plans do you have when you get in, or if you get in rather? What plans do you have for the people of the Dehiwala Mount Lemina Municipal Council?
Well, there are several issues facing the local authority, ratepayers or residents, I would say. Number one is the garbage issue, the street lighting issue, the cleaning up of drains, etc., which have to be streamlined and work according to a schedule. You know, if the garbage is going to be collected on a particular day, it has to be collected on that particular day. So you stick to a calendar, and that has to be, of course, for a long period of time, the Dehiwala Mount Municipal Council have been trying their level best to introduce that, but so far it has not been 100% successful. It has been successful in certain areas. So we aim to put that right, streamline the whole process, and ensure that when we say Wednesday it is collected on Wednesday. That has to be established.
Mr. Gunasekara, the traffic issue, does that come under the municipal council?
Well, technically the road committee is part of the local administration. That is as per the laws framed in the 1940s.
But you say technically.
You know, the question is this, you know, it's a road development authority that takes over things, and the police. But fortunately, we have a system where these committees do sit at the council every month to decide on various issues pertaining to traffic. So I'm sure we'll play a major role in those areas, which we have done in the past as well.
Any plans that you have, being a person who has been in politics and being a person who was involved in all of this for a long period of time, any plan that you can tell our viewers today, people watching you, that this is what we will do as a party and as a group to actually do something to reduce the traffic? Because that is a major economic burden. It becomes a national problem as well. That little stretch from Dehiwala towards Colombo has become a national issue now.
The RD needs to understand that the road which started from Kolpiti on the seaside has to go right up to Moratua. As to whether they have plans for its extension beyond Dehiwala, so far I don't see anything, but we aim to have discussions, because we feel that that stretch of road needs to come through. And if that doesn't come through, the traffic will still continue. But we aim to have a discussion with, in fact, I've already written to the RDA chairman on this issue and explained to him that we would like to get involved in discussions pertaining to traffic management between Vellavata Bridge and Moratua. And I'm sure we'll be in a position to contribute immensely towards a solution with regard to the traffic problem.
I'm getting some strong questions from a regular viewer of us. I'm not going to obviously tell who this is,
That's
but
okay.
I'm going to tone it down a bit, this question, the way it's worded, and I'm going to ask you. Basically, this question is asking you what party you are contesting from now, what you have done because you have not done anything in the past, what you will do because you have not done anything in the past. That is the gist of the question that I have received.
Well, it's a very simple answer. It's not that easy for me to explain as to what I have done within a matter of minutes. But I started my political career in 1978 and still in the political career. I cannot survive if I don't do work. I mean, it's very clear. Now, there are certain shortcomings as far as the council is concerned. In fact, we faced a meeting of residents 1 or 2 weeks back pertaining to the apartment complexes issue. You know, it's a very serious issue in the Montania, where I totally agree that certain approvals have been granted bypassing the rules and regulations of the UDA. Now those things need to be put back in order, in place. That is fundamental, and we must ensure that the residents are not inconvenienced. You know, we need to understand that going up is the answer. Vertical is the only answer, not horizontal.
But they have to be legally built.
But they need to follow the regulations. The culprit here is, to some degree, I must be fair, the culprit is not only the council. The culprit consists of course, including the architect, because the architect is aware as to what the laws are, what the laws promulgated by the UDA. And if they do not draw up their plans according to those laws, then in that case they are at fault. And subsequently, it's a very minor committee, a very small committee which sits consisting of the mayor, the commissioner, the chief engineer, and the UDO official sits and decides. Now I feel that it has to be broadened, that entire committee needs to be broadened, and transparency has to be brought into the system. And we hope to get the views of the neighborhood as well, and bring them into the system, because they are the people who are going to suffer as a result of such illegal constructions. So hereafter, what we aim to do is to bring them into the picture, keep everything open, transparent, and then tell the developer, yes, you can go up, but you follow the law.
Mr. Gunasekara, the problem with our country, or the problem with our political sphere, is the corruption and especially the bribery. As you said, there are several layers involved. If you take a small, simple building construction, there are several layers involved. And if one layer stops, let's say the local government authority says, no, we are not accepting bribes and we are going to do this properly, that person, if he or she wants, can go to the layer that is on top of you, get the thing done and come down the line again. So local government authority, the people of this country, we are now increasing the number of candidates represented.
Which is a mistake.
We'll get to that as well. But do you think the local government authority actually has the power to do something?
Of course it has. Of course it has. But the question is the will. The will. You must understand that corruption is not something that can be wiped out overnight. Because as long as there is a giver and as long as there is a taker, it's very, very difficult. But as long as you stick to your principles and you work according to your conscience, I'm sure it can be. It all depends on who is at the top. It all depends on who is at the top. If the man at the top can be trusted with, then in that case, gradually things will flow down the line. It's always the case. No, corruption starts at the top. It doesn't start at the bottom. It starts at the top.
So the local government representatives number going up, you say it's wrong. Why?
It's wrong because, you know, take for instance the Hermata Municipal Council. We have 29 so far. On the 10th, we are going to end up with 51.
Do you have space to accommodate all of those people?
Fortunately, we have. because this was built quite recently, and as a result, there is space for to accommodate that whole lot. But I feel, you know, local authority, it's so difficult to get through policies by getting the consent of 29 people. Just imagine when it becomes 51. How difficult it is. It's going to be extremely difficult.
So you spoke about streamlining the process, but actually with this increase, what is going to be is the exact opposite of it. The more the people, the more the compromise will be, and what the actual end result.
No, as long as you don't compromise on it.
As long as you don't compromise.
As long as you don't compromise.
That barrier, that
you should be able to accommodate everybody's views. But the majority of the people who will come in will be novices. You know, they will take at least 2-3 years for them to learn things and get on to the job. So I feel that the number has to be reduced. At least next election, the number has to come down. There is no way that you can accommodate a large number of members in a local authority, a small local authority, and work in unison. It's not going to be that easy.
Mr. Gunasekara, taking your political career as a person, now, if I may put it, without any disrespect to you, if I may ask you, isn't it a little demotion coming down from where you were and to going into a local government authority now?
Well, you could say so. But as far as I'm concerned, I have one principle. If you want to do work, whether you are in the local authority, provincial council or parliament, you can work.
But that same amount of power a parliamentarian has, will that be there in the local government level?
Your more satisfaction. Your more satisfaction. Don't forget, I started with my political career in the local government. I came back because I felt that I could do something. It's very unfortunate, you know, the people who have the knowledge, the capability are being ignored at the top. It's tragic. This is something that I experienced during the past, even during the former president's time, where I could have been brought in on the national list on several occasions. They did not do that. Why? Because they felt that I'm not a yes man. When you're not a yes man, you are in serious trouble. You have to be a yes man to get involved and get picked up, etc. And this is fundamentally the problem in Parliament. Today, we don't have ministers and politicians who are well experienced, who are knowledgeable. They are just assume those posts and they think that they know everything. No, that's not the question. That's not the case. They don't know half the things that they should know as members of Parliament. And that is why you are having innumerable problems in Parliament. Every day there is a problem. Why? Because they do not know what their role is.
Once again a question. Does he only want to stay in politics?
No, to serve.
To serve. Not for
when the time is right to go, I go. But I can work.
Mr. Gunasekara, you said you started off your political career
in
1978, and you said you started off from the local government level. You went up the ladder and you hit Parliament, and now you're again at local government. Do you think that you will be able to muster the same amount of support that you had back then in your younger years? Now?
I still have. That's why I was the deputy mayor last time. Of course, I should have been the mayor. Because we got more votes in Ratmalana than Dehiwala. And we got more members in Ratmalana than Dehiwala. But the leadership decided against it. They said the person who got the highest number of preference votes becomes the mayor. But that did not apply to a subsequent provincial council election when in the central province, Anuradha Jayaratna got the highest number of votes, but Sarath Ekanayaka was appointed as the chief minister. And that was a correct decision. That was correct.
You were in the same party though?
Same party. So, principles change, policies change.
Now, you said what matters is the person at the top. With President Maithripala Sirisena in the top, how do you see the SLFP progressing, and how do you see your future?
Well, the question is, it's a very difficult question to answer in a couple of minutes. But I must say we have to get on the track, you know. Maithripala Sirisena must be supported at all levels. It is very essential because whatever said and done, he is the president for a 5-year term. He is the president. Yes. So we need to support him. If you want to take the country forward, everybody needs to get together. You know, in Sri Lanka, what has happened over the years is it's all a game to grab power. You know, it's a game to grab power, not to do work for the country. That is what is sad about this country. I mean, whether I was picked up in Parliament or not, I can continue to work. I can still do work, and I can still do better than a parliamentarian or a minister because I have knowledge, I have experience, and I got both that from the best in the land, Mr. Lalitha Tulatmudale.
Mr. Gunasekara, now President is making very strong statements these days. We just 2 days ago we heard the lions and the dogs story, that it's better to follow a pack of lions than lead a pack of dogs. I'm not going to ask you who the President was referring to as dogs and the lions, but I'm going to ask you this. When it comes to all of this, when there is an election and when a certain party connected to the government, the two parties, the United National Party, this little friction, is it healthy?
Friction is never healthy, we must understand. But an alliance needs to understand one cardinal rule. They have to work together. Now, this government faces a serious problem with regard to the bond issue. It's a serious problem. It should have been nipped at the bud, but it did not take place. And the outflow is this. Very simple. I don't want to go into any detail, but that is where we faltered. And I feel that the appointment of a commission by the President was required.
We see the President playing a strong role in the anti-corruption drive. We now hear that the President is appointing a Sri Lankan Airlines Commission and Meen Lanka Commission as well. We also know that the Presifact report went to Parliament yesterday. A lot happening. What I'm trying to ask you in a way is this all before the election? Because the former government was there. Before the election you saw a lot happening when the former government was there. They also had their scams of their own. But the people were in a way conned to say, look, we're doing this, and we're doing this. Is this a similar drama, if I may put it that way?
No, the question is this, we need to understand that politicians getting involved in corruption needs to be dealt very strongly. And I don't agree with the fact that the normal law should apply to them. What we tried to do was to apply the normal law. I don't think that is going to work, because that will take a month of Sundays. It will take a month of Sundays. It's not going to see the light of day. So we need new laws coming into the picture. And I feel that this government, when it came in on the 15th, don't forget, most of the ministers who are shouting, saying that they don't want an alliance with the UNP, were part of the government at that time. Most of the people in the joint opposition were part of the government now. They were holding ministerial portfolios. So at that time, when they held portfolio, it was okay to join hands with the UNP. But now they say no, they don't want to. You have to understand that the government faltered on one aspect, taking action against wrongdoers. Why? Because the laws were not promulgated. I think the Minister of Justice should have been much more severe on this course, because he's the expert. He's a person who understands. He's a person who's capable of doing things. And if he had brought in novel procedures and methods, I'm sure we wouldn't have been in this position today. Even now at this late stage, you bring in laws because politicians are a privileged lot. If they do something wrong, the normal law cannot apply to them. It's a special law that has to apply, because they are a privileged lot. A man who is enjoying privileges should be dealt in a serious manner, in a severe manner, if he does something wrong.
Mr. Gunasekara, since we are running out of time, I want to ask you this question as well. As you said, the local government election this time is going to see a lot of new people coming in. How are you going to deal with all of these new? In the Devala, Mount Lavinia, few wards, there are very young people contesting this time around. New parties have come and joined in this election run. How are you going to cope with all of this? Yes, you have experience, but what I'm trying to ask you is, these new people have new ideas. Are you willing to open yourself up to these ideas?
We need to. We need to, but at the same time we need to train them as well, because it's our responsibility to train them. I have told them on several occasions at meetings, look here, you might get elected, you may win, but doesn't mean that you know everything. For heaven's sake, start learning, because learning is a process. and if you learn only, you'll be able to deliver. So it's on those lines that we hope to manage, and we will definitely establish the administration on our own now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gunasekara, for joining us this morning. I have to once again apologize for starting a few minutes late.
I understand.
To keep you waiting. So that was Mr. Kesaral Gunasekara contesting for the Devil Mount Lavinia electorate this time around for the local government authority, talking to us of his plans and how things will work in the local government level this time around. Thank you very much for watching us on Newsline. Tomorrow, Farah's promised that he'll be here on the show, so we're looking forward for that as well. Take care and God bless.